What's up, guys? What's going on? I'm Paul. This is Pauline Theology's daily devotional, and we are going through the book of John. Today, we're in John chapter 12, 27 through 28. And here recently, we've been discussing a little bit about Jesus' entry into the city and then how the people have reacted to it. And then Jesus kind of gives a perspective of what's going to happen. He talks about how it is a sacrifice, a death that he's going to have to take upon in order for salvation for the many people. And then he calls us to do the exact same. He says his servants will be with him. And when we talked about how this is, first off, a beautiful thing because we're going to be with him in that relationship with the Father, that intimacy that they have. But it's also a difficult thing because we're going to have to suffer. It is through his glorification, which he talks about, is his glorification is through pain and suffering. But through that, many come to be sons and daughters. And so we're going to talk about how Jesus feels about that. Okay. We're going to talk about how Jesus feels about it. And then probably through that, how we should feel about such situations. So if you haven't yet, check out John chapter 12, 27 through 28. Stop the tape, check it out, read it, see what I say, come back and we'll answer the questions. If you've already done it, man, it's time to dive in, man. So what's going on in the scripture? That's the first question we always ask. What's going on in the scripture? Well, Jesus makes a statement and he says his soul is troubled. So after talking about this parable of the seed that falls to the ground and that must die to bear fruit, and then talking about his servants doing the same thing, he kind of like lets you enter into his heart a little bit. He says, "My soul is troubled." Man, that's deep right there, because sometimes we think Jesus is this superhuman, which he is a superhuman, but it's just that he goes through emotions, he goes through feelings, he's troubled about situations. Things are not easy for him to do. These things weigh upon his heart, his soul, and his body. His soul is troubled. And I think it's because of two things. First, it's the weight of sin that's going to be placed on him. He knows the road ahead of him. He knows that what he's about to do is to be the lamb that takes away the sin of the world. And in order for that to happen, all of the sin of the world must be placed upon him. And just think about some of the sins that we commit and how taxing they are on our soul, how difficult they are for us to bear when we break someone's heart and we know that we've wronged them. And it's sometimes hard for us to bear just that sin. And then that is the weight that Jesus bore, except for the entire world. That's what he's saying is that's what's troubling his soul. That's what's causing him to be vexed. But then I think it's also another thing. It's a torturous death. It is a death that has to be a crucifixion, which is torture and death. The Romans have created this in order to cause people to suffer, first off, in the death that they're being murdered in, but secondly, so that other people see and realize how difficult a death, how torturous a killing it is. And Jesus is this is all coming to a head because he says the time has come. We talked about that. The hour has come. And so this here is significantly weighing upon him. His soul is troubled. But what is his answer to this? He says, well, what should I say? It's like the turmoil, the struggle, the pain that I think about as I'm about to enter into this hour. What should I say about it? He says, should I say, save me from this? Should I ask God to his Father to take me away from this pain and this struggle that must be endured? And he says, no. He answers quickly. He says, for this hour I have come, man. This is why I came to this hour. And so his purpose is single-minded because he does everything the Father desires, man. And this is also his desire, because even though he says his soul is troubled, he's like, what should I say, man? He's like, this is a very difficult thing I have to go through, but it's something I know I must go through and I'm willing to go through. He says, because this is the purpose that I have been sent. And then he says this, he says, Father, glorify your name. He says, that's the deal. That's the goal. That's the purpose. This may be a difficult, very hard struggle to walk through, a trial, a tribulation that has been placed upon me. But he says, I am going to do it because it's my purpose. This is the reason why God has sent me. The Father has sent me into this world. And because of that, glorify your name in this thing that I'm going to do. Glorify your name. And then a voice came from heaven and it says, hey, it's like, I've glorified it and I'm going to glorify it. Or I've glorified it and am glorifying it. Man, what a thing. Jesus is the man. Jesus is the man. So what does this say about God? Exactly that. Jesus is the man. So he's 100% God. He is the one who was with God from the beginning, who was before him, that represents him and shows him. But he's man because listen to this. My soul is troubled. It's vexed. He has the same emotions, the same struggles, the same problems that humans go through. So not only is he the God of the universe, the one in whom all things were recreated through, by, and for, but he's also human. And he shares in our struggles. And another thing that this displays and talks about God is his love for us, that God would do this, would take upon the sin of the world, would take upon this pain, this struggle, this death, torturous, so that we might be saved. That God intimately cherishes us, loves us. The Father loves us because the Son only does what the Father desires. And so the Father, since the Son desires to sacrifice himself, that means the Father loves us intimately. What does this say about man? The first thing I think we should recognize is how we are intimately loved, that mankind as a whole is loved by God with such a great love. We should cherish that love. We should respond. We should care for, and we should grasp a hold of that love. We should recognize it. And then I think another thing is that we should recognize that Jesus has suffered in every way that we have suffered. And so we can go to him with our struggles, our pains, our sufferings, our ailments. We can go to him because he has suffered in the same ways that we have. So how do we apply these truths to our lives, man? First off, contemplate the wonder of God's love. Contemplate the goodness, the love, the intimacy that the Father desires with us. Dude, that right there just allows you to recognize the intimate worth, the infinite worth that we have. Man, recognize that worth. See that worth and live by that. Let that fuel you. Let that empower you to live life. And I think another thing that we have to apply is that Jesus recognizes our weaknesses, our struggles, our pains, our hurts. And so go to him. If there's something happening right now in your life that you need help with because of the pain of some suffering that's happening, go to him with this. You don't have to bear the pain alone. And when you say go to him with this, it could be in prayer, it could be in scripture, but it can also be through the brothers and sisters that are the body of Jesus. Share your burdens and your pains and your struggles. I have a buddy, and I'll leave us with this, is that he recently passed away, but he emulated this so well. Whenever Jesus says, but what should I say? But you've given me this hour. This is my purpose. He has done that with such fervor, this brother who passed away with cancer. And that was something that I could see in his life, is that he had joy unspeakable despite all of the pain and the suffering he had to go through for these 4 years that he had this battle. There was a person, I don't think there will ever be a person like him. I've never seen anyone with such joy and strength and power who went through much suffering and pain and turmoil. I'll leave you guys with that, and I'll see you in the next episode.